Hey, greetings, Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from a technician's point of view. Today we're doing a retrospective review on the Royal, particularly this Royal. This is a model that took a Royal Type A bag, or F&G bag, as most people know it. And Royal made a lot of different variants of their cleaners over the years. And this one appears to be, I believe it's in the 80s when this one was made. Yes, it was 1980s. We'll see if the camera will focus, but it's a model 885. With a serial number B9 starting. So that gives you an idea in terms of the variant. You have a height adjustment that's a knob adjustable. Again, this is the more durable of the options they've done, but also you have to bend over and adjust it. You have a filler right here for the rear bearing. You can saturate it with oil through there. And then you have carbon brush access on each side. And I've always found this height adjustment to be very pleasing. It's very smooth. The click type tended to wear out real easy, so this was the better option. Now, they would advertise these as skate wheels even though there were no bearings in it. And you can see that there's just no bearings in these wheels. So when customers would bring these in, they would squeak in a specific way, and you could hear them coming. One of the places I worked at, we were in the basement most of the time, doing inventory and stuff, and we could hear a Royal customer from upstairs just from the squeak of these wheels here. Yeah, so that's the sound of those wheels. This has been buffed by me. I have a whole video on that if you want to see, and I have 2 videos on the rebuild process. I went through a very thorough rebuild process with this. I felt like it was an American classic worth restoring, and I still feel that way about these. And you can see it started to tarnish in some areas, but what are we going to do? This also has the adjust-o-right is still intact, and if you're unfamiliar with what this is, so the adjust-o-right, when it was making contact with the carpet, was a bellows that would pull in, and it would pull this guy in. That also gave you access to the belt, and of course this had a metal fan. Now I'll try to link these below because they keep changing availability. But there was always a company making F&G style HEPA bags. And that's what I'm running in here. And as you can see, I've actually put a fair amount of stuff in here. I really like using this vacuum. This is a Koblenz HEPA bag. I don't believe this is available, but there are Vac America bags. And the difference between a Royal B bag and an F&G bag is the way it faces the zipper. The B faces the zipper on the fill tube. The F&G will face it on the back of the bag. So you just reverse it 180 and they're interchangeable. So I of course laundered the outside of this bag. There's no sort of extra filtration medium. This is like a cotton type material. One of the most pleasing things about the Royal uprights is the switch. It's a dip switch, but it's right where your trigger finger is. So when you hit it, as you can hear, it just has a very pleasing kinetic click to it. Something rather unique to these. The Hoover switches that were similar were never quite as tactile. Something else I should state is you undo these 2 screws to change the cord, and this has actually got a pigtail going up to it. So you're only doing 2 screws to change the cord. It's kind of nice. You can do maintenance on this really fast. The other thing is the handle has a peculiar shape with a nice rubber grip, and these rubber grips don't get nasty unlike the PowerCast. Going down, we have a very solid cast aluminum or pot metal or some sort of metal cord hook that's very nice. So this had a quick release cord hook on it. Kind of a feature for the day. Now, there are some things going on this model that later models would go away from, which is how the handle's held on. Later they'd go to like an F&G style screw. As you can see, this is just a clamp. So these broke down into a very small box for shipping. Again, clamp here for the handle, and these would come connected. The next thing is the handle fork. So when you go to put this down, it will stop, pick it up, you can hit that, and it will lie flat. And this is an old style handle fork. This is a very common piece to break. It's just cast aluminum. If that, this might be actually some sort of pot metal or lower grade metal or alloy. So these had a tendency of breaking on all the Royals. And as you can see, that handle is spring assisted. I wanted to talk about the roller and what this is. So there's no stiffeners, and this has the square end caps. These are impossible to find a new roller for. So if this roller were to break, you're out of luck. This is an antique. You can, however, use Kirby belts. They are the same. And that just goes on. And you can see that there are arrows that tell you which way to put everything. And the roller is eccentric and adjustable. Now, one of the ways these were sold is as great edge cleaners. And as you can see, it did pick up most of the debris the first pass. However, again, it doesn't have the sealed numbers and the nozzle design to really get deep in the edges. You can see where it left some sand right there, like a lot of sand. And it, relocated a little bit of breakfast cereal, but it did all right. Again, this is a vintage machine, so I can't harp on it too much, but it was just something I wanted to show. All right, we've switched to the studio microphone. You're gonna hear the real sound of this Royal coming to life, along with it picking up stuff. For our pickup test, we have our standard pickup test, which is breakfast cereal, cat litter, fine sand, and some not so fresh dog hair. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Well, that certainly did something. Cannot get it. There's like some fine sand. There's a cat litter. You can see that it kind of ground the cat litter into the carpet. This doesn't have a lot of water lift like, say, a normal vacuum cleaner. So that's one of the things with these dirtier machines. They tend to struggle on heavy stuff like this. They picked up a lot of the fine sand. You can kind of see a little bit left, but that's really good. And then, pet hair, picked that up except for where the belt drive is. So that's all pretty darn good. You'd be real happy with that if you found one of these at a thrift store. So in conclusion, these things were sold at vacuum shops and they did very well. In fact, some people would go on cruises if they sold enough. So the incentive and the margins were good back in the day before TTI bought Royal. These have always been a strange machine because they're not a Kirby, but they sold them as a competitor. I personally would have rather had a Sanitaire back in the day, but that's just me. I found a lot of customers really struggled with belt changes on these, and almost all of them would bring their machine in for belt changes. Again, that was good for business, but hard on the customer, and led to people moving towards other platforms. And I went to a keynote speech at the VDTA, and they joked about how nobody sees Royal uprights around in their shops. Where did they go? They sold 1 million of them. Well, people just chuck these at the end of the day. Despite the repairability, people would just get frustrated with these. So I'm happy to have this one in my collection. It is an unusual piece. I feel it is more powerful than, say, like a Kirby, but not that much. It's maybe like 5 or 10% more powerful. It tends to have more sealed vacuum than a Kirby, and I think that's where that perception comes from. It still doesn't have a lot. The fan design is also a little bit deeper than a Kirby, so I think that's where a little bit of extra numbers also come from, because these motors are not high-speed motors. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I have a playlist here of all sorts of retrospective reviews, so if you want to see some vintage vacuums, definitely check this out. Subscribe if you want to see vacuum cleaners in general, and have yourself a wonderful day.